I'm Dr. Christy, and this is Climbing Fish Parenting, practical parenting strategies in 20 minutes or less. I'm a psychologist and behavior analyst, and I work with exhausted, overwhelmed parents who feel like they've tried everything and nothing works. If you're listening to this while folding the laundry, hiding in your car, or wishing bedtime would just end already, you're in the right place. Today's topic is a bonus episode for parents of teens and tweens. If you listened to this week's main episode on frustration tolerance and thought, okay, but my kid is 13 and they don't collapse on the floor anymore, they slam doors and they tell me I'm ruining their life, then this one's for you. By the end of this episode, you'll understand why teens struggle even more with frustration tolerance than younger kids, what it actually looks like at this age, and the specific strategies that work when your child is old enough to argue back, walk out the door, or go completely silent on you. Ready to transform your parenting journey? Let's dive in. Let me start with something that might surprise you. Your teen's brain is actually worse at handling frustration than it was a few years ago. Not because they're regressing, because of what's happening developmentally. Here's what you need to understand. The emotional center of the adolescent brain develops years before the prefrontal cortex, which handles impulse control and emotion regulation. So your teen feels disappointed more intensely than they did as a younger child, but has less capacity to manage it. Add in hormones, social pressure, and the desperate need for autonomy, and you've got a perfect storm. And just like with younger kids, if your teen has ADHD, autism, anxiety, sensory sensitivities, their baseline capacity is already compromised. Emotion regulation develops even more slowly in kids with ADHD, sometimes 3 to 5 years behind their peers. But here's what's different now. Your teen has more power than they did at 6. They can leave the house. They can lie to you. They can shut you out completely. They can engage in genuinely risky behavior. So the stakes are higher, and your approach has to be different. Let's talk about what this actually looks like, because it's not a meltdown on the floor anymore. Your teen can't go to a party. Instead of crying, they explode, "You're so unfair. Everyone else's parents let them go. You're ruining my life." Then they storm to their room and slam the door so hard a picture falls off the wall. Or maybe they go the opposite direction. They don't yell. They shut down. They give you one-word answers. They won't look at you. They radiate resentment, but refuse to engage. Or maybe they negotiate relentlessly. But what if I do my homework first? What if I text you every hour? What if Sarah's mom is there? They wear you down until you're so exhausted, you either give in or blow up. And here's a version that terrifies parents. They agree to your face, then go behind your back. They sneak out. They lie about where they're going. They do the thing anyway and deal with the consequences later. Because in that moment, they literally cannot tolerate the frustration of not getting what they want. All of these responses, the explosion, the shutdown, the negotiation, the deception, are frustration tolerance issues. Your teen's nervous system is overwhelmed by disappointment, and they don't have the skills yet to sit with that discomfort and accept it. And here's what makes it even more complicated. Some of this behavior looks like normal adolescent boundary testing. Some of it is normal adolescent boundary testing. But when it's rooted in poor frustration tolerance, normal parenting responses don't work. Punishing them harder doesn't teach the skill. Removing all privileges doesn't build capacity. You need a different approach. Here's the framework I gave you in the main episode. Empathy first, boundary second. That still applies, but with teens, it's not enough. Here's why. When your child was 6 and you said, "I know you're disappointed," and the answer is still no, that was sufficient because you had all the power. You were bigger, you controlled their environment, and they ultimately had to accept your decision. Your teen, they can walk away. They can drive away. They can argue for an hour. They can make your life miserable until you cave. They can sneak out after you go to bed. So empathy first, boundary second, has to evolve into something more sophisticated. Validate feelings and explain your reasoning and offer limited autonomy. Let me show you what that looks like in action. Your 15-year-old wants to go to a party at someone's house you don't know. You say no. They explode. This is ridiculous. You don't trust me. I'm not a baby. Here's the old framework. I hear that you're upset. The answer is still no. Here's the teen version. I get why you're frustrated. You want to go when your friends are going, and it feels like I'm being unfair. Here's my concern. I don't know this person's parents. I don't know if there will be supervision, and I've heard there might be alcohol there. I'm not comfortable with that. Here's what I can say yes to. You can have friends over here, or you can go to the movie with them instead. Or we can call Sarah's mom and see if you can hang out there after. You get to choose. Notice what happened? You validated their feelings. You didn't dismiss them. You explained your reasoning. You didn't just say, because I said so. And you offered them choices within your boundary. You gave them some control. This is critical because autonomy is the core developmental task of adolescence. Your teen is biologically driven to separate from you and make their own decisions. When you say no without offering any control, their brain perceives it as a threat to their development, and they fight back hard. But when you give them choices within your limits, you're saying, I see you as capable. I trust you to make some decisions. And I'm still the parent, and I'm still keeping you safe. That reduces the intensity of their frustration because they're not completely powerless. All right, let's get practical. Here are strategies specifically designed for teens with low frustration tolerance. Strategy 1. Separate negotiables from non-negotiables. This is huge. You need to know in advance what you're willing to negotiate and what you're not. Non-negotiables might be safety issues, illegal activity, anything that puts them or others at risk, core family values. Negotiables might be curfew time, how they spend their money, what they wear, how they decorate their room, some social plans. When your teen pushes back on something, you immediately know this is negotiable. Let's talk about what might work versus this is non-negotiable. Here's why. Here are your options within this boundary. This saves you from the trap of negotiating things you're not actually willing to budge on, which just teaches them that if they argue long enough, you'll cave. Strategy 2. Explain your reasoning even when you don't have to. Teens can handle complexity. They can understand risk assessment. They can process your concerns if you actually explain them. Don't just say, because I said so, or because I'm the parent. That activates their resistance. Instead, here's what I'm worried about. Here's what I'm trying to protect you from. Here's the experience or brain development you don't have yet that I do have. Sometimes they'll still disagree. That's fine. But when they understand your reasoning, they're less likely to perceive your boundary as arbitrary control, and that reduces their frustration response. Strategy 3. Teach them to advocate for themselves appropriately. Your teen is going to push back. That's developmentally appropriate. Your job isn't to shut that down. It's to teach them how to push back in a way that's respectful and effective. Here's what that sounds like. I can see you're upset, and I'm willing to hear you out if you can talk to me calmly. If you yell or slam doors, the conversation is over and the answer stays no. If you can tell me why you think this is important and listen to my concerns, maybe we can find a solution. You're teaching them using your big emotions to get what you want doesn't work, but effective communication might. Over time, this builds their frustration tolerance because they learn they have tools other than escalation. Strategy 4. Let natural consequences teach. When it's safe, this is where parenting teens is different than parenting younger kids. Sometimes the best way to build frustration tolerance is to let them experience the frustration and consequences of their own choices. When it's safe to do so. They don't want to study for a test? Let them fail it. If it's not a high-stakes final, they'll be frustrated, disappointed, maybe embarrassed. That's the practice. They spend all their money in the first week and have nothing left for the thing they want later. Don't bail them out. Let them sit with that frustration. Obviously, this only works when the stakes aren't too high. You're not letting them learn about drunk driving by experiencing it. But when the consequence is disappointment, frustration, or minor failure, that's where the skill gets built. Strategy 5. Repair after the blow-up. Here's what's non-negotiable. Even when your teen loses it, even when they're disrespectful, even when they slam doors, you come back later and repair. Not immediately, not while they're still escalated, but later, maybe an hour, maybe the next morning, you go to them and you say something like, "Hey, that was hard earlier. You were really upset, and I held a boundary you didn't like. I know that's frustrating. I still love you, and the boundary still stands. And I'm here if you want to talk about it." You're teaching them that conflict doesn't end the relationship, that they can be angry at you and you'll still show up, that frustration is temporary and connection is permanent. That's what builds their capacity to tolerate future frustrations, because they learn they can survive the discomfort and still be okay. Here's what I need you to remember. If your teen has poor frustration tolerance now, it didn't start yesterday. This has been building for years, and it's going to take time to rebuild. You're not going to use these strategies for 2 weeks and suddenly have a teen who says, "You're right, Mom, that boundary makes total sense." That's not realistic. What you're doing is slowly, consistently teaching them that frustration is survivable, that they have control even within limits, and that their feelings are valid, even when the answer is still no. And here's the truth. Adolescence is the time to build this skill, because in a few years, they're going to be adults making their own decisions. If they leave your home without the ability to tolerate frustration, they're going to struggle with jobs, relationships, finances, everything. So every time you hold a boundary with empathy, every time you offer them choices within your limits, every time you explain your reasoning and let them advocate for themselves, you're building the skill. It might not feel like it when they're slamming doors or giving you the silent treatment, but I promise you, it's working. All right, that's it for today. Remember, teen frustration tolerance issues look like door slamming, silent treatment, relentless negotiating, or risky behavior, not floor meltdowns. The fix: validate feelings and explain your reasoning, and offer limited autonomy within firm boundaries. Separate negotiables from non-negotiables. Teach them to advocate appropriately, and let natural consequences teach them when it's safe to do so. If this episode was helpful, please share it with one person you think it would help, maybe another parent who's struggling with their teen right now, and head to my website at www.climbingfishparenting.com to grab my free frustration tolerance scripts and practice guide, and sign up for my weekly newsletter. I share exclusive strategies and real-life examples that don't make it into the podcast. That strategy I just gave you, it's the whole climbing fish philosophy in action. There's a quote, "Everybody's a genius. But if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing it's stupid." Your kid isn't broken. Your parenting isn't broken. Sometimes we're just asking our fish to climb trees. That's what we fix here. I'm Dr. Christy, and I'll see you next week.